North Korea is starving, but Kim Jong Un lives like royalty. Behind the propaganda lies a secret empire of unimaginable wealth. He moves in secrecy, spending billions while his people suffer. How does a heavily sanctioned dictator afford such excess? And what is he so afraid of? The truth behind his billionaire lifestyle will shock you. Kim Jong Un's hidden fortune. Where does his wealth come from? North Korea is a nation crippled by sanctions, drowning in poverty and cut off from the world. Yet its leader, Kim Jong Un, lives like an untouchable king. His estimated net worth? $5 billion, possibly far more. But how does a dictator ruling over a starving population amass such a fortune? The answer is darker than you think. Kim's wealth isn't built on business or innovation. It's built on crime, deception, and international corruption. His regime operates like a mafia empire, controlling every dollar, every trade deal, every illicit transaction that flows in and out of North Korea. One of his biggest cash streams? Weapons. North Korea illegally sells missiles, firearms, and military tech to rogue states and terror groups, making billions while openly defying global bans. But that's just the beginning. Cybercrime is another pillar of Kim's financial empire. North Korean hackers have stolen over $2 billion from banks and cryptocurrency markets worldwide. Their targets? Financial institutions, multinational corporations, and even government agencies. These state-sponsored cybercriminals aren't just stealing money. They're funding a regime that thrives on secrecy and control. Imagine a world where a dictator funds his nuclear ambitions with stolen Bitcoin. Because that's exactly what's happening. And then there's counterfeit money, specifically the infamous supernotes. These fake US dollars, so perfectly crafted they've fooled banking systems, are pumped into black markets across Asia, generating billions in illicit profit. While the world tightens its grip on North Korea, Kim tightens his grip on underground economies. But Kim isn't doing this alone. China and Russia, whether openly or discreetly, help keep his regime alive. Despite sanctions, Chinese companies have been caught funneling resources into North Korea, while Russian trade ships quietly exchange goods under the radar. These global powerhouses may publicly condemn Kim, but behind the scenes they ensure his empire stands unshaken. So, the real question isn't just how Kim makes his money, it's how long he can keep getting away with it. His fortune is built on lies, theft, and silent alliances, but can even a dictator keep the world blind forever? Or is his financial empire just one crack away from collapse? Kim Jong Un's insane food obsession, a dictator's hunger for power. In North Korea, food isn't just a necessity. It's a symbol of power, control, and survival. Millions of citizens live on rationed rice, forced to scrape by on whatever the government allows. Malnutrition is widespread, children grow up stunted, and famine has claimed countless lives. Yet at the very top, Kim Jong Un feasts like an emperor. While his people starve, he dines on the world's rarest delicacies, indulging in a lifestyle that defies not only morality, but also reality. Kim's cravings know no limits. He once spent $67,000 on Swiss cheese alone, a luxury he developed a taste for while studying in Switzerland. He has chefs flown in from Italy and Japan to prepare extravagant meals featuring beluga caviar, wagyu beef, and the freshest sushi, flown in daily from Tokyo. Even his most absurd indulgences raise eyebrows. $59,000 on imported chewing gum, thousands more on rare European chocolate. These aren't just cravings. They're deliberate displays of excess, a message that he is untouchable. And then there's his insane alcohol obsession. His private collection of liquor is valued at millions, stocked with the world's rarest bottles. He drinks Hennessy Paradis Cognac, priced at $2,500 a bottle, as if it were water. At lavish banquets, his inner circle is served unlimited champagne and fine wines, bottles that could feed starving families for months. But these gatherings aren't just about indulgence, they are a test of loyalty. To be invited is to be favored. To refuse is to be eliminated. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Food in North Korea is not just a luxury, it's a weapon. Kim controls who eats and who starves. He rewards his inner circle with lavish feasts while punishing disloyalty with deliberate famine. His government hoards international food aid, reselling it on black markets or distributing it only to those who remain obedient. The message is clear: defy the regime and you don't just lose your freedom, you lose your ability to survive. So, is Kim's obsession with food just gluttony? Or is it something far more sinister? Because in North Korea, food is more than nourishment, it is a tool of absolute control. And Kim Jong Un? He will always have a full plate while his people are left to starve. Kim Jong Un's $600,000 horse obsession, a desperate illusion of power? Power is built on perception, and no one understands this better than Kim Jong Un. In a nation where propaganda is more powerful than policy, every image, every spectacle is carefully crafted to maintain his grip on North Korea. And few images are as calculated as Kim, draped in a military coat, riding a majestic white stallion across the icy slopes of Mount Paektu. To outsiders, it may seem like just another dramatic photo shoot, but inside North Korea, this is something far more sinister. Kim's obsession with horses is not about passion, it's about legacy, illusion, and control. He has imported 138 elite stallions, spending nearly $600,000 on Russian Orlov trotters, a breed once reserved for Russian czars. In North Korean propaganda, horses represent divine strength, leadership, and a ruler's unbreakable will. By riding through the country's sacred mountains, Kim isn't just posing, he's reinforcing a myth, a carefully constructed lie that he is the rightful heir to an unshakable dynasty. But here's where it gets even darker. His grandfather, Kim Il-sung, used the same tactics. The North Korean regime has spent decades building the illusion that their rulers are godlike figures, chosen by destiny, unchallenged by the world. By mimicking his grandfather's horseback imagery, Kim is desperately clinging to this illusion, trying to convince his people that he is invincible. Yet while Kim parades on prized stallions, his people are walking through famine. While he spends hundreds of thousands on horses, North Koreans are fighting for scraps of food. The contrast is undeniable. He indulges in symbols of power while his country collapses under the weight of starvation, sanctions, and economic decay. So, is Kim Jong-un's horseback spectacle a show of strength or a sign of fear? A leader in control doesn't need illusions. He doesn't need to imitate the past. Perhaps the real reason Kim clings to these symbols is that he knows his power isn't as secure as he wants the world to believe. And if history has proven anything, when dictators become obsessed with their own image, their downfall is never far behind. Luxury cars, private jets, and floating palaces, Kim's billionaire lifestyle. North Korea is a country of crumbling roads, fuel shortages, and citizens who may never even touch a car. Yet at the top, Kim Jong-un lives in a world of unimaginable luxury. His fleet of 100-plus luxury cars, private jets, and multi-million-dollar yachts is not just about wealth. It's about power, paranoia, and the desperate need to stay untouchable. Kim's most prized possession? A $1,700,000 custom Mercedes-Maybach S600 Pullman Guard. It's not just a car. It's a moving bunker, bomb-proof and impenetrable, designed for a man who trusts no one. But it doesn't stop there. His garage holds Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, and 5 bulletproof Mercedes limousines, all smuggled into North Korea despite strict international sanctions. Why? Because for Kim, every journey is a calculated escape. When roads aren't safe, he takes to the sky. His personal aircraft, the Soviet-era Ilyushin Il-62, nicknamed Air Force Un, is not cutting-edge, but it serves a more critical purpose, disappearing without a trace. His travel strategy? Multiple decoy planes take off at the same time, flying different routes, leaving the world guessing. Even his inner circle never knows exactly where he is. And then, there's his obsession with the sea. Despite crippling sanctions, Kim has secretly acquired multi-million-dollar yachts, complete with cinemas, marble dining rooms, and military-grade security. His largest, a 260-foot vessel worth over $35 million, is a floating fortress, allowing him to escape into total secrecy while his people starve. But here's the question. Is this the lifestyle of a fearless leader or a dictator running from his own shadow? The more he surrounds himself with armored glass, hidden escape routes, and decoys, the clearer it becomes Kim Jong Un isn't just living in luxury, he's living in fear. Inside Kim Jong Un's secret palaces, a fortress of power or a prison of fear? In North Korea, fear rules alongside power, and no one understands that better than Kim Jong Un. While millions struggle with food shortages and economic collapse, he hides behind towering gates, elite security, and a network of secret fortresses. But what if his palaces, symbols of absolute authority, are actually prisons, built out of paranoia rather than luxury? Kim doesn't have just one home, he has 17. Each is a fortress designed to shield him from enemies both foreign and domestic. His most extravagant, Rongsong mansion, a 3,200-acre estate with private lakes, lavish dining halls, gold-adorned interiors, and underground escape tunnels. While North Koreans struggle to find electricity, his palaces are stocked with imported delicacies, luxury cars, and cutting-edge technology. But there's one thing even wealth can't buy: safety. Beneath these palaces lies a hidden world of underground tunnels, allowing Kim to disappear at a moment's notice. If a coup were to start, if an assassination plot were set in motion, he wouldn't fight, he would vanish. These tunnels connect his estates, allowing him to move undetected, ensuring that no one, not even his most trusted generals, ever truly knows where he is. His paranoia runs even deeper. Kim never sleeps in the same palace 2 nights in a row. His locations are constantly shifting, his routes always changing. He is the ruler of a nation, yet he lives like a fugitive, never staying in one place long enough to be a target. What kind of leader fears his own people this much? So, are these palaces symbols of power, or evidence of a dictator trapped in his own nightmare? Because the more security he builds, the more tunnels he digs, the clearer it becomes Kim Jong Un isn't ruling from a throne, he's running from the fate he knows is coming. How Kim uses luxury to control his inner circle. In North Korea, image is everything. Kim Jong Un doesn't just rule, he scripts every moment, every gesture, every illusion. He wants to be seen as a leader of the people, a humble man in a simple suit, riding an outdated train, visiting factories, shaking hands with workers. But behind the carefully staged photos, the truth is far more sinister. Take his Soviet-era olive green train. To the world, it's a relic, a symbol of tradition. To Kim, it's a fortress, bulletproof, stocked with state-of-the-art surveillance, gold-trimmed dining cars, and gourmet cuisine. While North Koreans ration rice, Kim dines on lobster and caviar, sipping $2,500 bottles of cognac. The train doesn't just transport him, it hides him. His routes change constantly, decoy trains run alongside, and not even his closest aides know his exact location. This isn't humility, it's fear. Then, there's his so-called modest wardrobe. Unlike other dictators who parade in medals and military regalia, Kim dresses in simple, dark suits, projecting an image of restraint. But don't be fooled, his real wardrobe is filled with custom Italian suits and handmade leather shoes that cost more than an average North Korean will make in a lifetime. His factory visits, his staged concern for workers, they aren't leadership, they're theater. And while he plays the role of a humble leader, his real life is anything but. He retreats to one of his 17 hidden palaces, each more extravagant than the last, stocked with imported luxuries and built with underground escape tunnels. The more he insists he's one of them, the clearer it becomes Kim Jong Un is not one of them. So, is his act still working, or is his carefully built illusion starting to crack? Because one thing history has proven, when dictators are forced to pretend, their end is already in motion. Kim Jong Un's fake humility, a billionaire's greatest illusion. Kim Jong Un wants the world to believe he's just another hard-working leader, a man of discipline and humility. He wears the same plain black mouse suit, rides an outdated Soviet-era train, and stages visits to factories where he smiles beside exhausted workers. But make no mistake, this is an illusion, a carefully orchestrated deception. Because while his people survive on government rations, Kim lives like a billionaire in absolute secrecy. Take his so-called modest train. From the outside, it looks like a relic of the Cold War. Slow, outdated, unimpressive. But inside, it's a rolling palace, bulletproof walls, gold-trimmed dining cars, imported wines, and lavish feasts. While millions of North Koreans struggle to find enough rice, Kim dines on beluga caviar and sips $2,500 bottles of Hennessy. And he never takes just one train. Multiple decoy trains run different routes, ensuring no one, not even his closest aides, knows where he really is. This isn't tradition, this is fear. And what about his so-called simple wardrobe? While other dictators wear military uniforms adorned with medals, Kim sticks to his signature dark suit, projecting an image of restraint. But behind closed doors, his real wardrobe is lined with custom-made Italian suits and handmade leather shoes, each pair worth more than a North Korean citizen earns in a lifetime. His concern for the people, his factory visits, his staged photo ops, it's all theater, a performance designed to maintain his grip on power. But the greatest lie of all? His supposed modest lifestyle. In reality, Kim retreats to one of his 17 secret palaces, fortresses built for luxury and survival. These estates span private lakes, are guarded by elite security, and come equipped with underground escape tunnels. His every move is calculated, his locations constantly shifting. Why? Because even a leader with absolute power knows that power is never permanent. So, is the illusion still working? Or is Kim Jong Un's greatest performance, the lie of his fake humility, starting to unravel? Because history has proven one thing. When a dictator is forced to pretend, the end is closer than it seems. Kim Jong Un's secret medical empire, a dictator's desperate fight against death. Dictators rule through fear, but what happens when the one who instills fear becomes afraid himself? Kim Jong Un projects an image of absolute strength, an unshakable ruler above the struggles of ordinary men. Yet, behind the palace walls, he is obsessed with one thing: his own survival. While North Korea's hospitals collapse, its people die from curable diseases, and doctors operate without anesthesia, Kim has built a hidden medical empire designed to keep him alive at any cost. His private hospitals rival the world's most advanced medical centers, outfitted with cutting-edge Western technology, experimental treatments, and state-of-the-art diagnostics, all smuggled in from Europe and China despite crippling sanctions. Foreign specialists, hand-picked for their expertise and loyalty, are flown in under total secrecy, sworn to silence about the supreme leader's true condition. Meanwhile, ordinary North Koreans are left to die in hospitals, without electricity, lacking even basic antibiotics. But Kim's paranoia goes beyond elite healthcare. Every meal he eats is pre-tested for poison. His food supply is controlled through secret farms, guarded like military installations to prevent contamination. His chefs are trained to detect toxins, and his personal physicians are on standby 24/7. When surgery is needed, it happens in complete secrecy, deep inside one of his fortified palaces, far from prying eyes. No one, not even his closest advisors, knows the full extent of his health concerns. And that's exactly how he wants it. But here's the truth. Kim Jong Un is scared. Not of war, not of uprisings, but of time itself. No amount of power, no army, no level of control can protect him from the one thing he cannot escape: his own mortality. And the more he fights to cheat death, the more fragile his rule appears, because if a dictator needs this much protection to survive, how much longer before the cracks start to show? Kim Jong-un's life is one of contradictions. Wealth beyond imagination, while his people struggle in silence. But his luxury isn't just about indulgence. It's his greatest weapon for staying in power. How long can this last? Will North Korea's elite continue to support him? Or will his extravagant spending lead to his downfall? Let us know in the comments. Should a dictator live like a billionaire while his country suffers?